clearly every single time that I kind of like feel like, nevertheless, like intuitive. I've spoken about this before in the past. You know, last week was a challenging week. I would say it kind of carried on to this week. Challenging in many different ways. I would say, nevertheless, something that I kind of like was going through in a sense. I had a couple of ideas the end of last month towards the beginning of this month, which was last week. And I kind of ran some numbers mentally with the way that I felt that things were going to kind of like play out to an extent. And nevertheless, I feel like the numbers that I played out should have been on paper, shouldn't have been on my mind. This way you're actually seeing what's happening instead of just, thinking of what is. I think that tends to happen a lot too with individuals and it used to happen a lot to me. Now it's kind of like religious. Every single morning that I wake up, I have multiple accounts and I like to go into my accounts to actually see what I got. Instead of something like, sometimes, you get paid on Friday, or something that used to happen to me, I would get paid on Friday, and then by Monday, you're thinking mentally of what the balance that you have if you have not gone into your accounts, and you think you have an X amount of dollars, and all of a sudden you log in and you're like, damn, I forgot about that bill. Or damn, I forgot about this, or whatever the situation is. I don't that's ever happened to you guys, but that used to happen a lot to me. So in order for me to go ahead and avoid that at this level, the best way to go about it is to literally on a daily basis, look to see what's happening, which I should have done prior to me rolling certain things out. And it's kind of funny that that Vlad put a video out there. I think it was like 2 days ago on the WhatsApp, where we share, and I think it's a really powerful video from Denzel Washington talking to Penn State, which I've heard the audio multiple times, but this time it was just basically like, it was very, very specifically targeted to something specific, and which goes again with my intuition, situations, things kind of like of what I feel that the business needs. Sometimes, us humans or individuals, and I've said this before, we kind of walk with a candle, right? And we wish we could walk with a flashlight so we could see 15, 10 steps ahead of us. But unfortunately, that's not usually what happens. We tend to, and I think this is where faith, this is where the universe, this is where belief, this is where the intuition, all those things play a key role, bless you, because those are the things that we are going to need in order to trust the process, or trust the progress as to what the next steps are going to be for us as a company, as an individual. And I love the Denzel Washington Penn State thing, which I'm going to go ahead and play right now. It's about 7 minutes. I think it's really powerful. I think it's really great. I was listening to another thing too from Raul Vias, which I won't play today, but I was listening to him, and it's kind of like sometimes we kind of have a story, and we kind of play that story to ourselves over and over again. It's kind of like, or we say little things. At least from what I took from that message, for me personally, it's something like sometimes we say certain things, and it's kind of like we leave that phrase as a resemblance or as an idea as to who we really are. And sometimes I think we say it so many times that we kind of believe it, and it's very hard for us to kind of separate ourselves from that concept, because it's something that we've repetitively said so many times. Every time that I say something, damn, I always forget, or I have a bad memory. And it's kind of like a story that we tend to play for ourselves. Like, even thinking, sometimes, and I get kind of caught up, it's something that's a topic that, and it obviously impacts everybody when we talk about money. And, living a certain lifestyle or living a certain way, and then when things are not playing the way that you're normally comfortable with, you kind of feel uncomfortable to an extent. and it's kind of like you tend to, you revert back to whatever story you were saying to yourself. So I think this is where I love the Denzel Washington, which I'm going to go ahead and play. I think when we really sit back and we start giving gratitude, we start giving thanks for really the things that we have, instead of just taking and feeling that we're obligated, or God's obligated to go ahead and give me everything that I want without giving a certain amount of effort back. Because then this is where we have to be consistent with the process and trust the process, consistent with the hard work that we're putting in. Because when we're not consistent, and it tends to happen, we were talking yesterday to part of my sales team yesterday, and as a matter of fact, I was talking to someone else with regards to what tends to happen when people make big commissions one week, the next week they're kind of dead. It happens a lot in other businesses, right? Or we tend to have a really good month, and then the next month we kind of like slack off to an extent. It's actually, as a matter of fact, Bob Proctor actually has there's a word for it. Cyber mechanism. It's a mechanism that airplanes use. It's like an autopilot that we tend to go ahead and go into a linear aspect of it. And obviously you have a pilot, right? Of the plane, and then obviously the guy's in the back. He puts his little thing in autopilot, and he's hanging out in the back talking to the team and whatever, all the crew, and who the heck's flying the plane? And that's really like our subconscious, our ideas of the things that we think of how we think that things are supposed to go, right? We just get on autopilot, and all of a sudden, you go through turbulence. All of a sudden, we don't get a lead. All of a sudden, we do 3 evaluations and nobody closes. All of a sudden, you were having a great day and a client calls us, or all of a sudden, we get bad news, which I don't know if you guys know, Stephanie's grandfather passed away this morning. So for you guys, just send her a quick message or whatnot. And things are going to happen. And they're going to derail us from whatever the goal or the concept or whatever the idea that we had, or the comfortableness that we feel that we are entitled to or we're comfortable with. And then all of a sudden shit hits the fan. Like what happened last week, of something that I said, but obviously not looking at my numbers, or redoing my numbers and just launching something out there. And then all of a sudden, if it doesn't play out, we kind of panic. And I said something last week, and I know obviously I had a conversation yesterday with the sales team, and I know Alex said that he didn't really like that, but I think it's accurate. Me personally, and I don't like to back up. I don't like to back things out of things that I've already put in place. And I'll be honest with you, I made a mistake. And I think that's okay. Sometimes I think we have pride. I think we have a situation, but we have to really reflect back in ourselves as to what happened. Because we go through those highs and everything's going great. Then all of a sudden we get really comfortable, and then it's all of a sudden now we have X amount of bills, or we had a certain situation that we had to take care of, and we can't take care of it anymore. Because guess what? If you don't look back to what you've done and the decisions that you've made, you're going to end up getting caught with that situation again. And it's what Bob Proctor was talking about, is what happens to an airplane when it goes through turbulence. The psychoservant, damn, I'm going to find that word. There's a word for it, and then and basically the autopilot kicks in and it redirects the plane. So in a sense, we have an idea of who we are and how we live, but that's based on our mental capacity or whatever it is that we're going through physically. So instead of really walking through faith and hoping that things are going to get better and declaring them, in a sense, I sound like I'm going to go into like a God speech or something like that, but it's true. If we go ahead and we declare and we say certain things like that, we into the universe, and we work and we put that hard work right behind it, and we say exactly what's going to happen, then things will happen and they will manifest, and you have to trust that. Because if you don't, then you're going to get caught in the same bullshit over and over and over and over and over again. It's just going to continue to happen. So I was really just thinking about that. I have the audio. I'm going to go ahead and just play it now, and then from there
Number 1, put God first. Put God first in everything you do. Everything that you think you see in me, everything that I've accomplished, everything that you think I have, and I have a few things, everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that. It's a gift. 40 years ago, March 27th, 1975, it was 40 years ago, just this past March, I was flunking out of college. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I hope none of you can relate. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop. They still call it beauty shops now? What they call it now? Yeah, I was sitting in the beauty parlor. I was sitting in my mother's beauty parlor, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me this woman under the dryer. And every time she looked up, every time I looked up, she was looking at me, just looking me in the eye. And I didn't know who she was, and I said, she said, somebody give me a pen, give me a pencil, I have a prophecy. March 27, 1975, she said, boy, you are going to travel the world and speak to millions. I've been directed. I've been corrected. I've kept God in my life and has kept me humble. I didn't always stick with him, but he always stuck with me. So stick with him in everything you do. If you think you want to do what you think I've done, then do what I've done and stick with God. Number 2, fail big. That's right. Fail big. Today's the beginning of the rest of your life, and it can be very frightening. It's a new world out there. It's a mean world out there, and you only live once. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give my In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline, which you have already done, and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. And in this text, tweet, twerk world that you've grown up in, remember, just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Remember that. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. My mother told me, she said, yeah, because you can run in place all the time and never get anywhere. So continue to strive, continue to have goals, continue to progress. Number 3, You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I'll say it again. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I don't care how much money you make, you can't take it with you. And it's not how much you have. It's what you do with what you have. We all have different talents. Some of you will be doctors, some lawyers, some scientists, some educators, some nurses, some teachers. Yeah, okay. Some preachers. And while you're down there, say thank you for grace. Thank you for mercy. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for wisdom. Thank you for parents. Thank you for love. Thank you for kindness. Thank you for humility. Thank you for peace. Thank you for prosperity. Say thank you in advance for what's already yours. That's how I live my life. That's why I am, one of the reasons why I am today. Say thank you in advance for what is already yours. True desire in the heart for anything good is God's proof to you, sent beforehand to indicate that it's yours already. I'll say it again. True desire in the heart, that itch that you have, whatever it is you want to do, that thing that you want to do to help others and to grow and to make money, that desire, that itch, that's God's proof to you, sent beforehand already to indicate that it's yours. And anything you want good,
kind of prescription or medicine or to console anybody for whatever hardship they're going through. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier in the conversation, and it's what he just said right there. People don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan. And it's unfortunate that people are not consistent with a specific process to try to get themselves to a particular situation, and then all of a sudden they're going through this roller coaster emotion of situations, and then it's like, and it's the idealistic idea that we have in our minds of who we are, as to this is exactly what my life is, this is what it's supposed to be. And instead of saying to yourself, this is not what I'm supposed to be, let me go ahead and get my goals and let me put them on paper, because if not, then they're just pipe dreams. And they're just ideas of things that we want to go ahead and achieve, but when we don't put them on paper, we just live life like it is, or whatever it is that we go through. We wake up in the morning and we don't even know, without us planning from the day before, or even writing some stuff as to saying, what exactly am I going to do tomorrow morning? And then we wake up the next day and it's like, it's a flip of a coin.